my name is Ellie Benson, and I did my big board presentation on the effects of past countercultures over the last 5 decades and their effects on future mainstreams. So, first, how did I think of my topic? I've always been very interested in pop culture, such as fashion, and I plan to do something with it when I'm older. So I started with that. I noticed that my mom, when she was a kid, was wearing some very similar clothes to what I was wearing today. Although some of the clothes she wore, I would never dare to wear, and vice versa. So I started with this. I looked up recent runway trends and past runway trends, and kind of watched to see where this would take me. So once I started researching, as I said, I was looking at different runway trends, and this kind of led me to different musics, different genres of musics, different forms of music, different music artists who were a part of these past trends, or who were following a similar pattern that were once popular, or once not popular, then became popular. And finally, this kind of led me into music festivals and how they follow a similar pattern, as well as the music and the clothing being worn at them. I found that they all followed a very similar pattern as to how they were started by youth movements, and they were once not popular, then evolved over time and became popular. So before I really get into my paper, I think it's really important to define 3 terms that are crucial for really understanding everything. First is counterculture, and this is a group of people within a culture that separate themselves from the larger group due to different values, beliefs, trends, etc. Next, we have mainstream, and this is ideas or attitudes or activities that are seen as normal. And lastly, we have pop culture. This is different views of love, charisma, mystery, basically any form of art such as music, fashion, TV, media, etc., etc. So now what did all my research lead me to? That the countercultures of the past 5 decades had continuously evolved into mainstream trends in fashion and music through the commercialization of counterculture trends. So, this can first be seen in music. Music begins a part of the counterculture in one generation, then, within the next few decades, becomes a part of mainstream pop hits. This can first be seen with rock and roll, which was a form of music started in the United States, in the United Kingdom, by rebellious artists who kind of tried to take a step away from the norm. It was embraced by the youth, and as these youth movements grew older, they kept embracing this form of music and eventually grew and evolved into a huge, as we can see, genre that's still famous today. This can also be seen with Bob Dylan and rap music. This is all very significant because it demonstrates how quickly voices of resistance, such as this rock and roll rebellious genre, can be commercialized and sold to the mainstream as something that everyone loves. Businesses discover these musics as these youth movements grow older and people keep embracing them and they're now adults. Businessmen who are this age take this form of music that maybe they once enjoyed, maybe they didn't, but they commercialize it and make it big to everyone. Some people say though that this commercialization isn't bad because it's what the people want to hear. They like this music. Although it's important to note, it's important that the consumer knows the meaning behind this music, and maybe they don't agree with this form of music because it was a counterculture belief in past times, and so commercialization kind of is bad for the music pop culture because it's taking away all the meaning in the music. It's important to show the significance of the counterculture because it expresses the critiques of mainstreams of culture that's necessary for growth. So next, we have music festivals. Music festivals are continuously growing today, and over time have changed who goes to them, why people go to them, and what happens at them. They're now popular among the masses. The first example of this we can see is Woodstock. Woodstock was a huge music festival I'm sure you've all heard of in August of 1969, where the counterculture of the 60s came together and celebrated the beliefs and tried to distance themselves even more from the mainstream. Then after Woodstock, music festivals kind of disappeared for a few years, but then came back in the 1990s with Austin City Limits, Bonnaroo, Coachella, Lollapalooza, and various others that I'm sure you've all heard of or even attended. But now they're a money-making business. The mainstream now attended these music festivals, and the music that was played at them was music that was commonly played on the radio that was enjoyed by the masses. Wasn't really a celebration of beliefs anymore, but rather just listening to music. Some say that the reason never really changed though for people going to them. It was for people to go and socialize and listen to their favorite music. Although looking at a broad scheme of things, this is true. But when you really look into it, this is not true, because the original music festivals were made for people to come and celebrate their counterculture, celebrate what they truly believed, and distance themselves from society. Whereas today, it's for society to come together. And they have these huge, and it wasn't about the money back then, but today it's clearly for these artists, these owners of these huge music festivals, to make millions and billions of dollars. The festivals themselves continue to thrive, and the commercialization of these festivals has transformed the counterculture movement into something that can be profitable among the mainstream. This commercialization has led music festivals to become huge. Lastly, we have fashion. Fashion changes from generation to generation. Over the past 5 decades, almost all fashion trends have been repeated, although I'm sure this is not a surprise to any of you because you're the ones wearing these trends. And I can guarantee that some of you guys are wearing these trends today. The fashion industry has found it easy to take old, edgy trends and reintroduce them to the mainstream as something that can be enjoyed by the masses. Commercialization drowns out the meaning of these clothes, though, similar to music festivals and music. For example, the army jacket, a staple piece I'm sure many of you have in your closet. But the army jacket first appeared in the 1960s as an ironic piece worn by counterculture movements to represent peace and symbolize against war. Now, as I said, it's a staple piece. This can also be seen with grunge, Doc Martens, combat boots, and many others. One of the ways celebrities get these new fashion trends to become popular is through celebrities. Celebrities are always looking for a new piece to wear, something that's eye-opening that many followers who enjoy these celebrities will soon be wearing. Although there's also an algorithm to predict these trends, that are going to happen in the future. All you have to do, Sarah Mower from Vogue magazine states, is take today's date, 2016, and subtract the age of these young designers, which on average is about 25. This, they have found, is the best way possible to utilize past trends. How does this make sense though? Because these young designers have seen these old counterculture trends as they were a kid, and maybe they didn't get to participate in them, or who even knows if they would participate in them, but now they get to take them and reintroduce them into their own. It's the best way for them to commercialize. And so what's next? What's to come from this? Using the patterns of music festivals, and fashion, we can predict future countercultures and mainstreams. Some of the future countercultures that are predicted are ones called greed busters, and these are people who are trying to disassociate from the financial industry. There will also be people who want to live strictly through voluntary work, and those who are obsessed and live through technology. These all probably make a lot of sense to you because they We can see them now, and noticing these for the future can help provide an insight for what lies ahead. It can help us learn from our past more and maybe try to stop it or be more aware of the commercialization. So, how has counterculture of the past 5 decades moved into future mainstreams? Easy, through commercialization. All of these forms of pop culture have resurfaced as to popular trends. People who start these counterculture movements are almost always kids. The youth predict the future unknowingly. They're also predicting the future mainstream. They're the original source of all of this. But they aren't the ones responsible for the backwards momentum. That lies in our hands. We are the ones responsible for not learning about the past countercultures. We merely accept this commercialization and really just enhance it by buying it. Rock and roll music fought against segregation, hippies fought against war and materialism, and the grunge movement challenged the ideals of conformity. But now the issue is the meaning behind these counterculture trends and how they're drowning out meaning in order to make them appealing to the more mainstream or the norms of society. Our society is losing its ability to critique itself and learn from the messages that these counterculture movements are trying to get across. But now that we know this, and we know where the root of the problem starts, we can take a stand and make a change. We can watch younger generations start future mainstream trends and learn from them, ensuring that we're not living in a backwards moving society. So, how did this impact me? To say the least, I was shocked. I couldn't believe that America was letting such important aspects of our history fade into commercialization. So we must be aware. This made me want to make sure everyone knows this. We have to stay informed, pass the message on to others, as well as future generations, about the dangers of commercialization and what it can do to our society. Although it is maybe good because these trends are becoming more popular and it offers new trends for us in the next generation, but we have to learn the meaning behind them and learn what each trend is really trying to say or was once trying to say. We have to teach the side of history not being taught. We have to inform people on the counterculture and teach the dangers of commercialization and what it can do to us. So now for my community outreach program. What I kind of did, how I took this information and put it into my community. Well, first, as I previously said, I wanted to get the message out there. And I also wanted to incorporate the aspect of giving so I could make an even bigger difference. The best way to do this, I kind of thought of, would be to start a clothing drive. How I did this was, trends are always going in and out of style, and the best, as we can see, but there's over 15% of Americans who are in poverty and who can't even worry about these trends, or who can't even afford clothing, much less worry about what's hitting the runway next. So I got in contact with the Baldwin Center, who is a program in Pontiac, Michigan, whose mission is to provide a form of hospitality to all kids and men and women of all different ages in the Pontiac community. I would collect clothes that would go to them, to the kids and adults in the Pontiac community for everyone to enjoy. So my project itself, the logistics of it were pretty simple. I just got large boxes and put them at places that I had a connection with, such as City Home, Adat Shalom Synagogue, and Corton Elementary School, which was the elementary school I attended. And the goal of my drive was to not only provide people that couldn't afford clothing provide clothing for those who couldn't afford it, but to also teach people about donating and defeating the label. And what I mean by defeating the label is trying to take away from the mainstream, not letting this mainstream run your wallet, and mostly buying clothes that aren't necessarily you're only wearing because they're on the runway, but wearing clothes that you enjoy and wearing clothes that you find the meaning is important with, not just the mainstream of it. And I wanted to show people that they don't need to care about what clothing they're wearing, but merely how they're lucky to have it. So this is the poster that I put around my school, my synagogue, just the whole Birmingham Bloomfield community. So now the project in motion. Once my project started, there wasn't much I could do besides really just letting it run its course. Obviously, I could encourage people to donate, and I could donate myself, but I had to kind of take a step back. But then I was asked by my old 5th grade teacher to speak at Corton to his present 5th grade class about my project, why I was doing it, and the importance of donating. So I went in, introduced myself, and told them about my paper, told them about my project, and why I needed their help, and mostly that without them, this project would be nothing, and their help was really crucial. And lastly, I told them about the importance of giving and why it's important, and why even after this, they should keep doing it. I also got to talk to them about commercialization and how to be wary of it. Not necessarily stop it, but always be ready to learn another perspective of things. Know that there's two sides to every story. Although this wasn't initially a part of my plan to go and speak to them, I'm so happy I did, because I think it was one of the most rewarding parts of my whole community outreach experience. So next, the pickup. When I went to pick up the clothes from See Home and Adat Shalom, I was thrilled. Both the boxes I had placed there were full, and I felt like I had done a very successful job. But then I went to Corton, and I was overwhelmed, to say the least, when I was there. Not only had they filled up this one box, but I couldn't even fit all the boxes that they had collected into my car. I had to have someone else come and help me. And then after I got to speak to the 5th grade class again, just to thank them and see if they had kind of stuck with the ideas that I had told them. And I'm very happy to say that they did. As I talked to them, they continuously repeated back to me about how they wanted to keep giving and how good this felt to help someone else. And they also kept telling me about the different perspectives of things and how that they wanted to learn the meaning behind the clothes they were wearing, with the music they were listening to. And now in class, they started learning more things, more two sides to things, not just the one textbook way, which I thought was so exciting, and I really could feel the difference I was making. Then lastly, going to the Baldwin Center. This was an amazing experience because I not only got to see my hands-on impact in the transition of me giving them the clothes, but I got to see the impact of how good it felt for me to donate this, and the people who work at Baldwin, but the people who are going to be collecting my clothes and wearing them on their own. I got to walk through the whole process at this clothing drop-off, and it was truly amazing. Here are the kids at Corton collecting clothes and putting them in boxes. And here are all the clothes that I had collected in my garage. So, wrapping everything up. To say the least, this was an amazing experience, and I would not change any of it. I think that I really got to see the changed perspective. I have a changed perspective of trends now, and I hope now you all do as well. I learned that history is crucial for the future, that we are nothing without learning from our past, and without learning our past, we can't take a step into the future. And youth movements are the ones who are starting these huge trend ideas. It's important to notice them and notice what they're trying to say and what they're trying to do with them. Commercialization is destroying the meaning of these trends. But my clothing drive was a step to stop this. Is to show people that getting these clothes that they don't care about the label. They are merely thankful for them. And I wanted to defeat what the mainstream trends had to bring to the table, which is merely just money in your wallet. I wanted to focus on the meaning I hope that you all can now focus on the meaning behind the clothes and the original intention that they had. Not necessarily let this not necessarily take away from the mainstream, because maybe you enjoy these hot new runway trends, because to say the least, I do. But I want to know why these trends are happening and kind of look into the past and see what they once represented. I think it's important to learn what they represent, but don't let the label of the mainstream or a counterculture run your wallet. Thank you all for coming and listening to my presentation today.